Micah begins her Quintin Tarantino journey of discovery in this special edition of This Is Reviewable, the Tarantriple feature. How do you like that?
Did you come up with that on your own?
Yep.
That's pretty good.
Patent pending. All right, well, I figure we should probably just knock these out in the order they came out in, don't you think?
Not in the order that we watched them.
Oh, I don't know.
What order did they come out in?
Inglorious, Django, Once Upon a Time. All right, Inglorious Basterds. What's it about?
This is a World War II.
There's only one right answer to this, and you already didn't do it. It's only two
Nazis.
words. 2 words.
Oh. What?
You're almost there.
Kill Nazis.
Killing Nazis. Yeah. Inglorious Basterds is about this group of, well, it's really 3 stories, I guess. Maybe 2 stories. So the first story is there's this girl, this French girl named Shoshana, and her family is found by this SS officer who specializes in hunting down Jewish families. He kills her family at the very beginning, and she's the only one that gets away. And we follow her story sporadically throughout the film. And then the other story is about the Bastards, this group of Jewish American soldiers who are dropped into France behind enemy lines, and their goal is just, they're going to be doing one thing and one thing only: killing Nazis. So they're just there to terrorize basically the Nazis. And that's Brad Pitt's he's the one in charge.
Task force.
Lieutenant? Yeah, he's a lieutenant. He's the one in charge of the task force. And then these stories meet up together, and new characters are introduced, and the Nazi Jew hunter guy shows up in both of their stories at different parts. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a Quintin Tarantino movie, so it's going to have very good dialogue, very good scenes. It's really going to be kind of focused on dialogue, and then there's going to be really violent scenes mixed in here and there. And it's going to be a fun time. Tarantino movies are a fun time, as Micah is discovering, right?
Yeah. Well, I've seen
a good chunk of this.
50% of this movie, maybe?
Yeah, before.
40 to 50%. But
it was in a social setting, so...
Yeah. And I remember thinking certain parts of it were really funny. Certain dialogue parts were really funny. And then we watched this all the way through, and I didn't remember that there was so much subtitles.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of different languages.
Yeah.
Mostly French and German.
And I'm definitely the kind of person that has to watch movies and shows with subtitles on. Otherwise, I can't understand what's being said. But as soon as it's a different language and I have to read only subtitles, I can't keep up.
What?
Is
really?
What I feel like sometimes.
Oh.
Because I get stressed out that I'm not reading fast enough, so then I don't process it super well.
Oh.
It's just my anxiety.
There's not really that much to keep track of in this movie, though. It's like...
But it is a lot of subtitles.
Yeah. What I'm saying, though, is you don't really need to remember things from an hour ago.
No, but I'm just saying that I was getting stressed out that I had to read something. That's my own issue. But
honestly, probably the best points of dialogue in this whole movie are the ones that are in French. I think, pretty much exclusively, because it was like that first scene. Oh, and German. That first scene where he's interrogating the French farmer.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
Okay, so the very beginning of the movie is that SS officer shows up at this farm, and he's talking to the farmer.
Monsieur L'Appetit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they start speaking in English. Yes.
Oh, yeah. They start in French.
And then they eventually start speaking in English.
Yeah.
And the SS officer knows that there's Jews hiding under the floors.
And that's why he's switching to English.
So that the Jews can't.
Because he keeps like denigrating his language abilities throughout but false. He knows that he's good at these languages, and he's like, I'm afraid I have exhausted the extent of my French. He's using big vocab words in French, like, bullshit, you've exhausted the extent of your French. He's just switching because
he knows that
yeah.
these, you know,
Yeah.
people hiding don't speak English.
And he always plays these little subtle games of control too, but it's done in a very polite way. Like when they sit down, Monsieur La Petite is like, "Is it okay if I smoke my pipe?" And then he kind of looks at him and he's like, "Of course, it's your house. Make yourself at home." Like, you know, but
he's in control of the
his
situation.
house now.
Yeah.
And then when Monsieur La Petite starts smoking his pipe, Hans Landa, that's the name of the SS officer, pulls out his pipe, and it's just this
goofy looking
big honking thing.
It's like something from a cartoon.
Right. My pipe is bigger than yours. He's always just like, he's always doing stuff like that. And then there's the scene where he meets with Shoshana again in Paris. Shoshana's living under a different name. And she is terrified the whole time that he knows who she is. And
you don't really know.
I think he does.
I think he does too, but like they don't confirm that.
Right.
For sure.
The only reason that you would think that he does is because Hans Landa orders.
Is this a spoiler?
I don't know. If you haven't seen this movie by now, like, whatever.
Okay.
You know, right? I mean, we'll avoid,
because it's been almost 15 years.
Yeah, it's been forever. Everybody's seen this movie. When he is interrogating Monsieur La Petite owns a dairy farm, and Hans Landa asks for a glass of milk since, you know, he's on a dairy farm. And then when it's Hans Landa and Shoshana in Paris,
and she's there under a different name,
he orders for her. He orders her a drink, and then he orders for himself a glass of milk. And then you're like, oh, he knows that that's Shoshana. Or maybe milk is just his thing. But those are the only two times in the movie where he drinks milk, because he drinks brandy or whatever when he captures Aldo and the other guy.
And champagne or something, right?
Right. So I don't think milk is necessary. I think that's
he has to know.
I think he knows.
And
yeah,
I really liked that scene at the restaurant where he orders that milk for Shoshana, because she is stressed out. She handles it so well. You cannot tell that she's stressed out. And then Hans gets up and leaves, and she gives herself one sob of like just release.
Yeah.
And then she pulls herself back together.
Yeah.
It was such good acting right there.
Oh yeah.
On her part.
Well, and by Hans too. He's just
his
relishing.
Acting is amazing, but I just really liked her acting in that moment.
Yeah. How'd you like that? Did you look at any of the violent parts or not really?
I guess let's do a parent's guide on this.
Okay.
So this is a violent movie.
Yeah.
People are getting shot and killed like that.
More than that.
But the main violence, the gross violence, I would say, is scalping.
Yeah.
So I didn't watch any of that. I know that it was happening, and I think I didn't cover my eyes soon enough on some of it, but
yeah,
that's the main.
And there's one scene at the end where they shoot someone freaking a million times in the face, and it's just it's pretty gory. But yeah, other than that, it's mostly just shootings and stabbings. There is one Nazi that gets beat to death with a baseball bat, and it cuts away when his head kind of blows up, but you can still kind of see it. So yeah, that it's a violent movie. But isn't it weird that, like, despite Tarantino having this reputation of super rated R movies, they almost feel like some of the most accessible rated R movies?
What do you mean by that?
Like, you can just jump into them and enjoy them, despite how violent and how much swearing and all that stuff there are.
Because for me, it's almost like I enjoy it in spite of it, of the violence.
Right, but like you couldn't watch Prisoners, for example, and feel totally different movies. But just they're both rated R. But Tarantino's famous for super rated R, Yeah. But they still feel kind of like, oh, it's fine. It's just a Tarantino movie.
Yeah. What is there even to say about this?
Well, I have a big. By the way, stick around to the end. We have a fun little segment that we're going to do special for this Tarantriple feature. And I have a bunch of stuff that I'm going to go through at the end. It's a little game we're going to play.
The end of the episode?
Yeah, after we've talked about and rated all three of the movies.
Okay.
I will just say Brad Pitt is great as well.
So good.
In this. I like it when he has that dumb Tennessee. Anyone from Tennessee, let us know how accurate his accent was, but I imagine not at all.
No.
Yeah.
Well, at least from my experience.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I told you this, but last summer when I was in Tennessee visiting my sister, I was at the farm store or whatever with my aunt, and we were looking at chicken stuff, like supplies for her chickens. And this guy started talking to us, and his accent was super thick, but he didn't sound like, Brad Pitt. And he goes, we were talking about chickens or whatever, and we were like, oh, like, you have chickens also? And he's like, yeah, I have 5 chickens. And we're like, oh, you have 5 chickens? No, I have 5 chickens. Right, you have 5 chickens? No, I fight chickens. And we were like,
oh, I didn't get that at all.
No. Like, I'm not doing his accent justice, but it was just so funny talking to this guy at the farm store, and he's just telling us that he fights chickens.
Jeez.
Which is illegal.
Yeah, totally. Those southern accents are different beasts, and the South is just a different beast in general.
Yeah.
That's the kind of place where you admit to strangers that you fight chickens,
and it's okay out in public,
and everyone's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. I fight dogs. I hope nobody fights dogs. That's bad. I mean, they're both bad.
They're both bad. Okay, let's rate it.
Okay. And then we're going to rank all 3 of these movies after. That's going to be part of our end party that we're going to do at the end of this episode for the party. I'm going to give this a 9. A 9 Brad Pitt speaking Italians out of 10. It's very fun. But not only is it fun and popcorny, like the standoffs are written really, really well. The verbal standoffs. And they're intense and they're interesting. And I like them a lot. So there you go.
And 9 what?
I told you.
Oh, Brad Pitt. Okay. Yeah. I think I'm going to rate this an 8. Mountain climbing in Paris. This movie is definitely violent. The subtitles definitely threw me off. I don't remember that at all watching it the first time. Even though technically, I guess I didn't watch it the first time. Definitely enjoyable. I definitely like it. This movie is very quotable.
All right, moving on. Django Unchained.
Okay, so this movie is about a Dr. Schultz who is a bounty hunter.
Same actor as Hans Landa.
Mm-hmm. And the movie starts off with him stopping a group of...
A chain gang.
Yeah. Because one of the slaves can't identify this...
these
gang.
Brothers.
Yeah, these brothers that he is trying to track down to get their bounty. And so he ends up buying or taking the slave, who's Django.
Yeah.
Who's played by
Jamie Foxx.
And they end up working together as bounty hunters and trying to
save Django's wife eventually.
Yeah. Who is still a slave.
Right. This is probably Tarantino's most straightforward movie.
Storyline
wise, I think.
Because it just follows them.
Yeah, because Inglorious Basterds is pretty straightforward, but there are merging storylines that connect with each other. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this just follows King Schultz and Django. It's really good. It's very fun, very entertaining, very harrowing when it needs to be to set the stakes. But then, like, the catharsis of this movie is really great. I think maybe my favorite out of any catharsis moment in all of Tarantino's filmography that I've seen. And that's saying a lot because Hitler dies in Inglorious Basterds.
That's a spoiler.
Whatever. Spoiler warning. The ending of Pulp Fiction is somewhat cathartic. The ending of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is very cathartic. But this one has them all beat, in my opinion. The way that this ends.
Special appearance in this movie.
Yeah.
Mr. Gangly Legs.
Gangly Legs. Oh, welding goggles?
Uh-huh. Mr. Walton Goggins is in this movie.
He plays one of Leonardo DiCaprio's henchmen at the plantation.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where there's a group of people walking in the moonlight, and you can't see their faces.
It's like 8 people.
It's all silhouettes. And you can tell with 100% certainty which one is Walton Goggins. You just know.
Yeah.
He's the only one that's walking with that swagger. It's that Boyd Crowder swagger.
Something that I really do just love about this movie is the humanity that Schultz shows Django.
Mm-hmm.
He's just such a kind person.
Isn't he one of the best characters
Yes.
that you've seen, like, ever?
Ever.
Yeah.
Racism existed and still exists in Germany, which is where Schultz is from in the movie. And he just treats Django like a normal human being.
Yeah.
Which nobody else does, for the time period.
Yeah.
And it's just like automatic. Like, of course he would treat him this way.
Yeah.
He's a human.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really like that and the way that he is. I just like his character. I don't know.
There's also this time watching it, because I think I've seen it now probably five times ish. This time watching it, there are a lot of like callbacks to previous moments, and I guess seeds that are planted that come full circle later on in the movie. Yeah, like the bounty, Django getting his first bounty, and after he does his first bounty, then Schultz gives him the bounty card, the poster.
Mm-hmm.
He says, "You always keep this one. It's good luck." And that turns out to be very good luck for him later,
Mm-hmm.
that he still has that.
But not only that, while he's trying to take out his first bounty, he doesn't want to shoot this guy.
Yeah.
Because this outlaw is in front of his son, and he doesn't feel right about shooting this guy in front of his son. And Schultz basically says, this is a horrible person. These are all of the horrible things he's done, and there's a reason that he has a bounty on his head. And they reference that later on in the movie.
Well, and he says, "In my world, you have to get dirty."
Mm-hmm.
And then later, when Schultz is starting to sort of lose his nerve because of how racist and bad Leonardo DiCaprio is, Django is like, "Remember when you told me? In my world, you got to get dirty. That's what I'm doing. I'm getting dirty." And then Schultz tells him to not lose sight of why they're there. Don't get so caught up in your retribution that you lose sight of why we're here. And later, someone may or may not get so caught up in getting retribution that they lose sight of why they're there. And just like lines of dialogue and artifacts like that poster, they come full circle in this movie in a way that is pretty uncommon for a Tarantino movie. Because his biggest strength, really, in my opinion, is writing scenes. And a lot of his movies will just feel like a collection of really, really great scenes that are sort of loosely tied together. This one feels like, a little bit more crafted the whole way through to me.
What's your favorite moment from this movie?
I love the ending, but I also love when Django kills the brothers. I like it when he says, "I like the way you die, boy." That's such a great scene.
I think my favorite scene is the KKK part.
Oh my gosh. How did they make that funny? But they did. And they made it so satisfying too.
So they upset this plantation owner.
Yeah.
And he gets this group of, it's obvious that this is going to turn into the KKK, this group of men.
Mm-hmm.
This is the start of it. And these KKK members are going to go kill Schultz and Django. And they're all on horseback, and they have pillowcases on their heads with just little circles cut out. And they have everybody stop, and it's a whole group discussion about how they shouldn't have to wear these masks.
Because they can't see.
Because nobody can see anything.
Yeah.
And then the guy whose wife made all these masks gets pissed off and is like, "You know what?
Fuck all you. Never ask me and mine for nothing.
I'm going home." And then he goes out.
Yeah. And then this is another thing that goes full circle. They don't take off the masks, and they ride up to the wagon, Dr. Schultz's wagon,
Mm-hmm.
and they're circling the wagon. And because they can't see shit, they don't realize that Schultz and Django are not there until it's too late. And then Schultz blows up the wagon and kills a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a lot of fun, this movie. But it is very violent at parts at times. There are some scenes, like there's a scene where they have two slaves fight each other to the death. Ugh. And it's pretty. That's not a fun, violent scene at all. And then there is another scene where they have a different slave ripped apart by dogs.
Okay, you don't have to go so in depth about it.
I'm just these are the ones that are like, yeah, okay, this is still a movie that's about slavery. So there's still some really rough stuff in there. But then I think apart from that, every other violent scene is a fun one to watch, a satisfying one to watch.
Well, the ending is incredibly violent also.
Yes. Well, no.
Really?
Like leading into the final third of the movie is very violent, very bloody, but the ending itself, not that bad. Like the last scene.
Oh, I'm talking about all of Candyland at the end. That whole night, basically.
There's a big shootout at Candyland, and the big shootout is super violent. But the last littler shootout in Candyland, it's not really a shootout, isn't that bad. There's a lot of language too, lots of uses of the N-word, as you would expect in a movie that's set where this is set and when this is set, pre-Civil War South. And there is some nudity, but it's non-sexual. It's like, humiliating the slaves sort of a thing. So mature. It's mature. It's a Tarantino movie. Don't let your kids watch Tarantino movies until they're, I don't know,
30?
Okay, until they're 30.
There's a part in this movie where Leonardo DiCaprio cuts his hand, apparently. Braden was telling me about this.
Yeah.
During filming, he cut his hand. And then he wipes his hand across someone else's face, and I felt like I was going to throw up.
Yeah,
that
it's
was
pretty gross.
so gross.
This is one of Leonardo DiCaprio's best performances, though. Don't you think?
Yeah.
And Samuel L. Jackson's.
That's what I was going to say. Samuel L. Jackson is in this movie. Does such a good job.
Oh my gosh.
He's Samuel L. Jackson, so how can he not do a good job? But also, like, his character,
he's so different from the other characters he's played.
Yeah.
And it's really, really great.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody does a great job. I mean, Christoph Waltz won the actor for Best Supporting Actor.
Oh, good.
King Schultz.
Yeah.
But it could have gone to Samuel L. Jackson. Yeah. It could have gone to Leonardo DiCaprio. It could have gone to Jamie Foxx.
Well, he's the main.
I don't know. Would he be lead? He probably would be lead, just because it's
about him,
named after him. But yeah, I mean, everybody does a great job.
Okay, you ready to rate it?
I've loved this movie ever since I first saw it back when I was like a junior in high school, and still do. Still think it's great. I'm gonna give it a 9.5. I like the way you die, boys, out of 10. Also, this has a great soundtrack. They made some great music choices with this one in particular.
Okay. I think I'm going to rate this a 9 Candylands. I really like this movie. I think for such a heavy topic, it's really funny.
And it's very accessible, again, right? Like, you can just get into it.
Yeah.
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 And Micah doesn't like violent movies.
No.
She can just get into this.
Yeah.
As long as she closes her eyes.
As long as I close my eyes as long as I close my eyes and I don't actually see it, which for the most part you can tell when some of this stuff is coming.
Yeah.
Most of it, I would say.
Yeah. There is, like, some people see Tarantino as a one-trick pony, but he's at least a two-trick pony. He's very good at writing dialogue, and he's very good at directing crazy over-the-top violence.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, he's just good at directing and writing the whole movie. It's great.
Yeah, I just think this is a very well done movie. Very well rounded in everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did a good job.
All right. Third, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And this is one that Micah has actually seen before, that we both have seen before.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really love this movie the first time I watched it. I thought it was kind of boring.
I really liked it the first time we watched it.
I liked it a lot. Second time, though, I think it's really good. I think it's very enjoyable. We did watch it over 2 nights, so maybe that helped.
You?
Yeah, but I was enjoying it the whole time, like this time, so I think I probably would have been fine watching it in one shot anyways.
Mm-hmm.
What's this one about?
This is following Rick Dalton, who is played by Leonardo DiCaprio,
mm-hmm.
who is an actor, and his stunt double, Cliff Booth, who's played by
Brad Pitt.
And it's just basically them in Hollywood.
Yeah. Well, Rick feels like his career is sort of ending, and he's becoming a has-been, and this is very frustrating to him and sad to him. And Brad Pitt is just sort of along for the ride. He's like his chauffeur / personal assistant / best friend.
Yeah.
And it sort of follows their story. And it's a lot of just like sort of mundane daily things.
Because Rick has gotten too many DUIs, so he doesn't have a license anymore. So that's why Cliff has to drive him around.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of like, let's go out to dinner. Okay, I have to drive you to set. And then Cliff goes to Rick's house
to fix his TV antenna,
to do handyman things,
and then has like a reflection of why he's not allowed to work on movie sets anymore because he beat up Bruce Lee.
I think that for such like a mundane movie or whatever, a lot happened.
This is what I mean by Tarantino being good at writing scenes. What the fuck did that Bruce Lee thing have to do with anything else in the movie? Almost nothing. Almost nothing at all. Only to explain that like Brad Pitt is not, he's not simpatico with a lot of the stunt coordinators and directors in town anymore. But like they could have just said that. Instead we get this whole scene of Bruce Lee talking about how he would beat up Cassius Clay, aka Muhammad Ali.
Mm.
How he would make him a cripple if they fought in real life, which, by the way, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
If anyone in the comments disagrees, you're out of your fucking mind. He would have lost that fight 10 times out of 10. Bruce Lee would have lost. You can't fight someone that much bigger, stronger, and faster than you. I don't know about faster. Maybe Bruce Lee is faster, but
he's not as big.
Muhammad Ali is quick, was quick, and he's so much more powerful. Anyway, that's a tangent. So Brad Pitt, apparently Quentin Tarantino agrees with me about that because his mouthpiece, Brad Pitt in this scene is like, no, you would lose. And then they get into a fight, and then he throws him into a car, and then it turns out to be the director's wife's car, and then he gets kicked off set, and Kurt Russell is the director, so there's a little cameo. But like that scene's not really that necessary. It's just a really good scene, and he wanted to put it in the movie, right?
Yeah, but that scene is also funny because Bruce Lee is like, just so you know, my hands are registered weapons, and so if I kill you,
I can't fight you because
yeah, I will go to prison.
I accidentally kill you.
And Cliff goes, yeah, it's called manslaughter.
Anybody kills anybody, they go to jail.
What else?
And then there's this whole set of scenes of Rick Dalton getting a guest spot on this TV show where he plays the villain. And it's just Quentin Tarantino getting to appreciate filmmaking because there's like a lot of the filmmaking process going on, the sets, conversations between actors, between takes. He actually produced some of these old-timey TV episodes, and you see them as the movie is playing. Rick will be watching TV, for example, or he'll be watching his part in a TV show. And it's an entire production that had to have been filmed and choreographed.
I didn't even think about that.
And all of this stuff. I think this really is Quentin Tarantino, just his love letter to filmmaking.
Oh.
And it's probably the most Tarantino movie I've ever seen. It's a lot of scenes that don't have a ton to do with the next scene, but they're very entertaining and they're very fun to watch and they're funny and the dialogue is sharp and it's very quotable. And then there's some crazy violence at the end because there has to be.
Yeah. During the filming of one of these shows that Rick Dalton is on, he, like Brent said, is playing the bad guy. And he's talking to Timothy Olyphant in this scene. And they had this whole dialogue going back and forth or whatever. And then at some point, Rick Dalton goes, line.
Mine. And you're getting into it. You're like sort of getting into the whole scenario.
And we know that he practiced his lines because he like talked about it the night before or whatever, that he had to go practice his lines. And then, he gets back into character and then he a couple minutes later, he forgets his line again.
Line.
And he's playing this badass bad guy that's super tough. He doesn't care, whatever. And then he says line. And then the second time he says line, it's Rick Dalton. And you can see this physical change on his face. He's like, I can't do it. I need us to stop. No. And then he's like talking about
I fucked the whole thing up.
Yeah.
This is like the most maybe endearing Quentin Tarantino movie too. Like the main character, you just like him.
You just like him.
You just really like him.
Yeah. He's able to pull it back together and he finishes the scene and then he gets back into his trailer and he's pissed at himself.
I practiced my lines. Now I don't look like I goddamn practiced my lines.
You are drunk. Why did you have to drink
8 whiskey sours.
Why couldn't you have just stopped after, I don't know, 3 or 4?
Yeah, I had to have 8.
You had to have 8.
He's just throwing a huge tantrum.
No more drinking. You are done drinking. And then literally...
Next cut, he's like taking a drink out of his flask.
No! And he throws it out the door.
It's such a funny scene.
Of him just having this meltdown in his trailer.
I love that scene at Spawn Ranch as well. The Brad Pitt checking up on the old...
Yeah. So during the movie, Cliff runs into or sees...
These hippies
throughout the film that are trying to hitchhike.
Yeah.
And finally, he's going the same direction and he gives this girl a ride.
It turns out...
They end up on this old movie set.
Yeah. This is the Manson family, it turns out.
Yeah. And he knows the guy who owns this ranch, Spawn Ranch. And it's a super weird vibe that he's getting. You know, there's all these women here and, you know, he's like, oh, so you guys have permission to be here.
And he's like, and he's being all friendly, right? And then and he's like, does George Spawn still own this ranch? Yeah.
Does George Spawn still
live in that house? Well, I'd like to say a quick hello today.
And while he's talking, the girls in that house, one of them is like
looking at him,
and the girl in charge is like, if he comes over here, let me know. What's he doing?
The tension is done really well.
So
there's only music at the very, very end when he's about to walk into George's room.
Yeah.
But like you can hear a pin drop and you're like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Because there's like, I don't know, there's like 20 people here and it's just
least.
Cliff.
Yeah.
And they're a bunch of women, but like there's still 20 of them, and it's just Cliff, and this is the Manson family, and we know that they're a bunch of psycho murderer people. Mm-hmm. But it's such a good scene because Cliff just doesn't take no guff.
Yeah, well, it was edited so well because he shows up at the ranch and he's talking and it's friendly, and then it cuts to the girls in the house.
Yeah,
they're like, if he comes over here, pay attention, tell me what he's doing, and then it goes back over to Cliff, and he's like, you know, does he live in that house? And then he's like, I'll just go take a look. And then the girl in the house
is not letting him in.
Right.
Dakota Fanning.
And so it just sets up this scene of, oh, what's going to happen because there's tension and she doesn't want him in here. She doesn't want him coming to look.
Yeah.
And then Cliff goes inside.
Well, he's like, listen, Red, because she's a redhead.
Yeah.
Listen, Red, I'm going in there and I'm seeing George with my own 2 eyes. And he like flicks the screen. This ain't stopping me. And she's like, okay. That tension just gets ratcheted up.
Yeah.
And I guess, okay, spoilers now. We don't want to, I'm just going to, because I have to talk about how it finishes, because this is important, this scene. So spoilers ahead. By the way, you know we like this movie now. Wait, should we just rate it real quick?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to give this a good, what did I give Inglorious Basterds, a 9? I did 9.95. Okay, yeah, that's what I did. I think this is a 9 now. I really enjoyed it this second time around. I'm going to give it a 9. Does he still live in that house? Actually, no. I'm going to give it a 9. I remember you. Spawn Ranch. Out of 10.
Okay. I think I'm going to rate this a 9.5.
Whoa.
I really like this movie. A 9.5. Flamethrowers.
Okay.
Out of 10. I just think this movie is really funny.
So, the way...
Spoilers.
Yeah, the way that scene ends is this tension is just getting ratcheted up, and then he walks into George's room and you're expecting something horrible, but it's fine. Everything is fine. So it's kind of like a damp squib a little bit, just
damp squib.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, okay. So there's no payoff. But then Cliff leaves and all these women are shouting at him because he was rude or whatever. And he gets back to the car and there's a knife in the tire, and this hippie had let the air out of the tire, and this is the only man that's left on the ranch right now. Cliff goes up to him and just punches him right in the face, knocks him off his feet, and that's our payoff after the tension, and then the letdown of the tension. We still get like the payoff. It's just done in like a little bit of a subversive way. I really liked that this time around. And then he's just beating up on this guy. And then all the girls are like freaking out. And then he's holding the hippie by the hair and he turns and he's like, ladies. And then he hits him again.
Well, yeah, because all these women were going to come and beat the shit out of him.
And then
if they had the chance. But he has this guy.
he's like, if you come one step closer, I will knock his teeth out.
Yeah.
So it's just,
so that
it's
like
great.
is
Great scene.
I like that also because, like we said, all these women could outnumber Cliff.
Yeah.
But the fear of this one kid getting the shit beat out of him diffused the situation in a sense,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So most of this movie is just a lot of language, and that's why it's rated R. But one of the very last scenes is very violent, and this is another revisionist history thing by Tarantino. So this murder actually happened in that neighborhood in real life, where the Manson family showed up to Sharon Tate, the house that Sharon Tate was staying at, and they killed her and her boyfriend and a couple of other people that were in the house, and Sharon Tate was also pregnant. And they like butchered all the people that were in there basically. The way that Tarantino rewrites this event is the Manson family people show up in the neighborhood, and Rick Dalton hears their crappy car, and he gets really pissed off because he's drunk.
And he goes out there and is screaming at
yelling at him, and he's like, "Get this mechanical asshole off my street.
This is a private road."
And then they leave, and they decide, you know what, we're gonna go kill that guy because we recognize him from TV, and he was a dick, and let's just go and kill him. So they go to his house instead, except Cliff is there, and Cliff
tripping on acid.
Yeah, Cliff is an ex-Army Ranger as well, and has a freaking killer dog. What kind of dog is that, by the way?
It is a pit bull.
It's a pit bull.
Yeah.
Princess. What's her name in this one? Brandy. Yeah. So things do not go well for those Manson kids in this version. They get killed in absolutely brutal ways, and it's extremely violent. But some of it's very funny.
Some of it is really funny.
Some of it is like, okay, whoa. Geez.
Because going on in the house, Cliff is fighting these 3 Manson kids, family kids, and one of them gets thrown out the sliding glass door or whatever and falls into the pool. The whole time that this fight has been going on, Rick Dalton is in the pool listening to music with his headphones on. So he has no idea that Cliff is like beating the shit out of these
fighting
kids.
For his life.
Fighting for
and
his
life. Wife fighting for her life.
Right. And then one of them falls into the pool and she has a gun and she's
blinded, so she's just kind of shooting it into the air.
And she's hysterical.
Yeah.
Past the point of hysterical. So she's freaking out. She can't see. She has a gun. She's shooting it in the air. And she's in the pool just screaming with her arms going crazy. And Rick Dalton is like, what the hell?
Gets out of the pool, goes into the shed.
Gets a flamethrower.
Which, by the way, had been mentioned probably 3 or 4 times throughout the movie. Because he did this
movie where he had to have a flamethrower.
Torch a bunch of Nazis with a flamethrower. And they so many people reference it to him.
Yeah.
And then there's even like a flashback scene where he's like talking about how he had to train how to use that thing, and he shoots it and he's like, whoa, that's hot. That's anything we can do about that.
And so he kills this girl with a flamethrower.
Yeah, it's insane.
Wild.
Crazy. Another one like gets like the dog. What's that actor's name? Austin Butler.
Yeah.
Austin Butler is in this movie. He's one of the Manson people. He gets his like crotch ripped up by this dog, and I can't remember how he dies, but he dies somehow. Are there only 3 of them?
Yeah.
In the house? The ginger-haired one dies in the worst way, and I'm not even going to say it because it's just gross. Yeah. It's very, very brutal. But it's like very a cathartic ending, I guess. It sort of crossed the line a little bit for me with how that red-haired girl died, but the flamethrower death was freaking hilarious.
Because imagine you're just in the pool vibing, and some crazy person falls in and starts shooting a gun and is crazy, and your first thought is
flamethrower. So funny. What was your thing you wanted to do?
Okay, so I wanted to rank these. I have 2 ideas.
Okay.
I think you need to come up with a third one while we're doing this. Okay, so I wanted to rank. Which one is your favorite?
Yeah.
In order, 1, 2, 3, and then by most quotable, which one is your favorite?
Oh, which
quantity wise, which one is more quotable?
I think I have my answer.
Okay. Do you want to go first?
Yeah.
So the first one is
favorite.
Rank your favorite.
Favorite Django. So
Okay.
second favorite, Inglorious Basterds. Third favorite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Okay. I think my favorite is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Uh-huh.
and then Django, and then Inglorious Basterds.
Okay.
So now it's
Favorite to quote.
favorite to quote.
I think the one I quote the most is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's just a few quotes that we always say.
Always.
But it's like, when the Manson family shows up, Cliff he had smoked an acid-laced cigarette, so he's kind of tripping. And he's
So
like,
he doesn't know what he's seeing.
and he's like, you guys are real, right? Who are you? And then one of them's like, Austin Butler says, I'm the devil. I'm here to do the devil's business. And Cliff's like, because he'd met him before, so he recognized him.
Yeah.
Cliff says, I know you. I know all three of you. Spawn Ranch. I remember your red hair. I remember your white little face. And you were on a horsey. What were your names again? And that's when he says, I'm the devil. And then Cliff is like,
Nah,
no, it was dumber than that. It was something like Rex. And then one of the girls,
shoot him, Tex.
Tex.
That's what it was.
I don't know why, but we quote that all the time. And then his freak out in the trailer is awesome.
So funny.
Like we've done the do before to each other, right?
Yeah.
Are there any other big quotes that we always say from this movie?
I'm sure there is, but the one at the very end is the one that we always quote. The
Tex.
Nah, I was dumber than that.
Like
shoot him,
Rex.
Tex.
Tex.
Tex. That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said that was your favorite, your most quotable?
Yeah. They're pretty, the other two are pretty equal, I think.
I think for me, it's a very close, I think they're tied.
Okay.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Inglorious Basterds.
Why?
Because of like I said, you speak third.
Oh, yeah.
Gorlami.
Gorlami. Buongiorno.
Arrivederci.
By the way, Christoph Waltz speaks very good Italian, but with a really thick accent. Like, there's no way he's ever passing for an Italian with that accent that he's speaking with.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but like he enunciates very clearly. You can hear the words very clearly. So he speaks good Italian. It's just with a German accent for sure, or Austrian. I don't actually know where he's from in real life. I think he's from Austria. I think that's right.
Okay. Did you come up with a third category?
Most satisfying scene.
This I don't think is the most satisfying, but it's one that I really like. So I think I'm going to mention it while I try and think of most satisfying scene. The part in Django where what's his name? Schultz. Where Schultz has just purchased Django's wife.
Yeah.
And now Leonardo DiCaprio, Mr. Candy, right? That's his name?
Yeah, Calvin Candy.
Yeah, has said, we need to shake hands.
To rub it in his face. Because Schultz is pissed.
He's mad at the whole situation and the way that Candy has treated them and the way that Candy treats his slaves and all of that. He just does not respect this man. And he's just trying to do the right thing and finish his obligation. And again, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
To buy Django's wife.
For $12,000.
Which is a shit ton of money in 18 whatever.
Right.
And Candy is like, a deal's not done.
One more moment, doctor.
Until two people shake hands. That's the custom in the South. And Schultz is like, nah, I'm not from here, so I don't have to. And then Mr. Candy's like,
you're not leaving.
Yeah, you're not leaving until you shake my hand. And he does, and
then King Schultz is like, okay. And then he pulls out his little wrist gun.
And he kills him.
Shoots him. And then that gets the huge Candyland shootout kicked off.
I respect that. You know?
Gotta do it.
Good for him.
I'm
sad that he died, but good for him.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's from Django as well, but it's the ending. It's when Django shows up at the wake. After the wake. And he's at the top of the stairs and he kills everybody and then shoots Samuel L. Jackson in both kneecaps and he's monologuing and then he lights the dynamite, blows the whole house up. So good. Such a satisfying scene. And he gets away with his wife at the very end. That's also why it's so satisfying.
Yeah.
And he's doing little tricks with his horse. Well, I also
yeah, and he's doing donuts with his horse. That part was funny.
He's peeling out.
Yeah.
I also loved how when he lit the dynamite and he's like walking out of the house, it's not the like trope where, you know, the cool guy doesn't look at explosions. He turns around and puts his hands on his hips and he's watching that. He's watching that bitch. He's watching that bitch blow up. And he's smoking a pipe and he's wearing these little weird sunglasses and he's got this new burgundy overcoat.
Yeah.
He's just dripped out.
Oh man.
So good. This section is called Quintin Tarantrio.
Oh.
How do you like that?
Okay.
Okay, first question. What does... Okay, I'm not going to be an asshole about this. What does Tarantino mean? I was going to say Tarantino, but...
Oh.
But that would give you a hint. What does Tarantino mean?
We already talked... Are you asking me or are you asking
I'm asking you, yeah.
Oh, it means from...
Taranto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about this.
Yep, that's what Quentin Tarantino's name means, everybody. It's a city in Puglia, our favorite region in Italy. Well,
yeah.
Mine, at least. Okay, this next section is the longest section, and it's called Which One's It From?
Wait, that was your only question for trivia?
No, there's others.
Oh. This whole section is trivia?
This is a subsection.
Oh, okay, so 1A.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Picture 1A. So this is called Which One's It From? Which one's it from? You're going to have to tell me which of these three movies the quote is from. Okay. First one. No, that's not what I said.
Django?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you know the scene?
No.
It's when they are at that plantation owner's house and he's telling his slaves that Django's a free man, so they can't treat him like any of the other slaves. And they're like, should we treat him like a white person? And he's like, no, that's not what I said. Okay. Next one. I'd take that deal.
Is that Inglorious Basterds?
Yep. That's when they're about to carve the swastika in two.
At the very end, or in the woods?
In the woods.
With the whole group?
Because that's after they've made the deal that ended the war or whatever. And he's like, that deal you made with the brass, I'd take that deal. What about you, Donnie? You take that deal? I'd take that deal. I would too. Damn good deal. Okay. Next one. Anyone order fried sauerkraut?
I think that one is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, good.
ChatGPT told me that one.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, sorry.
This is why I'm annoyed that you did that. Micah looked up a bunch of quotes. I had this list ready for like 2 days.
That's funny.
Okay. Thank you for the hospitality. This is a two-parter, but I'm not going to give you the second part unless you can't get it.
Well, that's Inglorious Basterds.
Yep.
That's at the Frenchman's house.
And he says it in French. Okay, nice. Doing good. All right, ready? This one's going to sound aggressive. I just want you to know this is not directed at anyone in this room. Shut up, slut.
Is that Django?
No.
Oh.
The first miss. It's Inglorious Basterds. When they're in the basement. And they're fighting in a basement. And this is said in German. So you could have just missed it.
Why did you... Fighting in a basement?
Next one. Go out speaking the kings.
Oh, that's Inglorious Basterds.
Nice. Yeah. Who says it? What actor says it?
Is that Brad Pitt?
No.
No, that's Schultz. No, not Schultz.
No. The actor's name.
Oh, I don't know.
Michael Fassbender.
Oh my gosh.
What do we know him from? What do we know him from?
The Killer.
Okay, thank you. I'm afraid I must insist in the opposite direction.
Is that also Inglorious Basterds?
No.
Is that Django?
Django. It's when he insists that they shake hands. Okay. The D is silent, hillbilly.
That's Django.
Yeah, that's an easy one. There was something else I wanted to ask you. Also a two-parter that I won't give you until you can't get this.
That was the question?
This is a two-part question, two-part quote, but I'm not giving you the second part unless you can't get the first part. There was something else I wanted to ask you.
Is that Inglorious Basterds?
Yes. Because at the end he's like, but for the life of me, I can't remember what it is.
That's a bingo.
That's a bingo. What are you looking at, you little ginger-haired f***er?
That's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's one of my favorite lines, too. I love that one. Well, Shitfire.
That's Once Upon a Time. No, that's Inglorious Basterds.
No,
Oh, it's Django?
that's Django.
Oh.
That's when they're the KKK part.
Oh my god.
Well, Shitfire. We have to wear the mask. That's the whole point. Well, see, that's where you're wrong. That's exactly what I expect you to do.
Django?
Nope.
Inglorious Basterds?
Mm-hmm. So when they're having the Germans like, you can't expect me to give you information that puts German lives in danger. Well, see, that's where you're wrong. That's exactly what I expect you to do. Are you guys all right? Those fucking hippies aren't. That's for goddamn sure.
That's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That's one I'll be saying for sure in the future. Okay, I'm doing the best I can under the circumstances.
Is that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yep. When he's preparing the dog food for Brandy and he's tripping on acid. That makes two of us. Another two-parter that I won't tell you.
Is that Django?
Nope.
What's the second part?
And at this range, I'm a real Frederick Zoller.
So, Inglorious Basterds?
Yeah. It's the part where he's like, the Nazi's like, do you know what that sound is? It's the sound of my Walter pointed at your balls. And he's like, I've had a Walter pointed at your balls for this entire time. And then Stiglitz is like, that makes two of us. And then he just jams his gun right onto the Nazi's balls. This ain't stopping me.
Oh, that's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yep. You will?
Django?
Yep. Zooms in with a whoosh. You will? Okay, I think we got one more. I did these out of order because I was writing them in order of, I was thinking of a bunch of Django ones all in a row, so I can't read them in order. Otherwise, it's just too obvious. Okay. Oh, it's like a reward.
Is that Inglorious Basterds?
Nope.
Oh, that's Django?
That's Django.
It's like a reward.
King Schultz says that. It's like, what's a bounty? It's like a reward. You've probably heard that audio if you've been on TikTok or Instagram in the last couple of years. It's kind of popular. It's like a reward. I think that's it. Oh, no. There's a couple more. I like the way you die, boy.
Django.
Get your shit and get
That's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. My good man, did you get carried away with your dramatic gesture, or are you pointing your weapon at me with lethal intention?
That's Django.
No, it was dumber than that. It's something like Rex.
Once Upon a Time.
You had my curiosity, now you have my attention.
Well, I want to say Django, but is that Inglorious Basterds?
It's Django.
Okay.
Okay, that was it, but I have one more section, and it's shorter.
Okay.
This one is called Extra Juicy Taran Tidbits.
You
like that? This is just some trivia. So Inglorious Basterds was almost scrapped because Tarantino could not find someone good enough to play Hans Landa. Someone that had the right accent while speaking English, but also could speak French, could speak German, could speak really good English with that accent, and could speak Italian, and had the right riz.
Yeah. That's fair.
Almost scrapped. Almost gave up on the project during casting. It was written.
Wow.
Almost got rid of the whole project until they found Christoph Waltz. Crazy.
Yeah.
What a find, right? Mm-hmm. So good. And I wish he was in more good stuff, but it's really kind of, from what I've seen of him, it's just these two movies that are super great with him in them. Mm. But he deserves better. I hope he fired his agent. Now he's got a better agent, picking better scripts for him. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood earned Brad Pitt his first ever Oscar. Oh. Did you know that?
He did a good job in the movie.
Yeah. Inglorious Basterds won Christoph Waltz his first Oscar.
He did such a good job in that movie.
Django Unchained won him his second Oscar.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
When Django came out, it was majorly controversial because of its use of the N-word. I guess maybe not majorly. It was a bunch of... But there was like a loud minority, I guess, of people upset about how many times the N-word was used.
It's definitely hard to hear.
But I don't know what you expect.
Right. Also at the same time.
It's going to be in there.
We were talking about this, and if we were actors...
It would be rough, yeah.
I don't think I could do it.
But Samuel L. Jackson came out publicly defending Quintin Tarantino very vehemently. And he kind of famously said, there's no way that guy's a racist. Look at the movies that I've been in of his. I am always the smartest character in that movie. he is not a racist. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
This is kind of a shit post by me. I'm stirring the pot with this one. Did you know that Samuel L. Jackson's role as Stephen in Django Unchained is the last film in living memory where he's not just phoning it in for a paycheck?
That's crazy.
I'm just kidding. I'm sure there's other ones, but like the only ones that I've seen of his in recent memory were the Marvel ones.
Mhm.
And he's great in Avengers, but then it's just sort of the same thing over and over and over.
It's pulling a Harrison Ford.
Yeah. In True Romance, when they're in Hollywood, Brad Pitt has a cameo as a stoner, and then in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, he gets to smoke an acid-laced cigarette, thus becoming a stoner in another movie written by Quintin Tarantino, also set in Hollywood.
Did Quentin Tarantino write True Romance?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That was one of his first screenwriting credits. Yeah, that's
well, he's a much better stoner in the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Really? I think he's really good at True Romance.
Oh, really? Well, I guess I
very
didn't see the ending of that movie.
He's very convincing as just a loser stoner in Once Upon or whatever that other one was called, True Romance. Okay, this marks the end of the Tarantriple feature. Will we watch The Hateful Eight next? I see no reason why not. I'll just tell Micah to close her eyes a bunch. But Welding Goggles is in that one.
Oh.
As is, prominently in that one.
Okay.
As is Kurt Russell, prominently. As is Samuel L. Jackson.
Have you ever seen that movie Overboard?
No.
We should watch that.
Yeah.
I don't know that you'll think it's that good, but I love that movie. Mm-mm. It's Kurt Russell. Does that make you want to watch it?
Good old Russ.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe. I'll have to see.
Okay.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Bye.